I was on a local station, Uganda-speaking radio station this evening, and I said the military rule, usually the transition from military to civilian is very complicated. In Uganda, it has never been completed. Even for you to begin discussing political parties and preparation for elections. Government has tabled an amendment to the UPDF Act. In that amendment, they are seeking to create 2 extra forces, because the military now, under the UPDF Act, is divided into the air and land force. They are now seeking to make SFC a force, which it already was, but illegally. But they are also adding the veterans. One of the legions of NRM is the Veterans League. They are the only ones who have a Veterans League. That Veterans League now is going to become a force under the UPDF Act. Same thing that happened in Zimbabwe, where the Mugabe group had veterans with guns, and you are competing with them. So the reason Besigye is in jail, it is because he's been fighting these things. He's not the only one, many others are fighting them. The transition from the Luwero armed group that was killing people for power in Luwero, that transition has never been completed. Even the spirit under which political parties were allowed some freedom. I was in Chankwanza as a journalist 2003 when Mr. Museveni spoke about freeing political parties. And the motivation was that donors were making a lot of noise. There are multi-partists who are also bad-mouthing us. The younger people, he said, who are the MP of democracy, and then to the Jeko. So the whole campaign of returning parties was to deal with the dissenters within the NRM. But the NRM has remained the same military outfit that killed the people to get into power in Luwero. So each election that you go to face as opposition, before you speak about working together, before you think about your internal problems, you have a problem that you must deal with as a country, because you've never transited from armed people to civilian authority. You are still competing with the military. That's why what Besigye faced, Kyagulanyi has faced, whoever offers himself will face it. Right now, Mr. Museveni is moving, campaigning, pretending that is supervising implementation of PDM. But he goes to campaign. You've seen the rallies. The Mwanga Chivumi's party, their last attempt to go and revive their branches, they were told you had caused an accident on the road, so you cannot continue. I don't know what will happen. You see, Uganda is a very interesting country. The Law Council told Martha Karua, when she came to represent Besigye, that she was bringing, special skills, and said, you're not giving you a certificate. But later they gave her a certificate. I don't know, maybe within those days she had acquired the special skills for which she was being denied. I don't know whether the time of campaign now they will allow Mwanga Chivumi's party to work and they don't cause an accident. So that's the environment under which we do politics. We have had a discussion as a country about the transition until we got problems in 2005 when Mr. Museveni said, now I am going to be president for life. So each election you go and face the same hurdles. Whether you work together, whether all the opposition groups Imam Kasus has spoken about are working together, whether they are fielding joint candidates, you're going to face the same problem because you are not competing with a political party, you are competing with the military.
You made a decision together with your colleagues to create a new political outfit called People's Front for Freedom.
Yes.
We haven't had much from it since they have begun. And you're not talking about what preparations you're making, what plans you are, and where you stand. Is that still a going concern?
I am surprised that you have not heard from PFF. As a political organization, we submitted all that the Electoral Commission requires to register a political party. That we did. We are waiting for a certificate to begin operating under the same environment. Where we are now, and that's why I don't want to be narrow to begin speaking about only one political group. I want to speak about the environment. Because yesterday I was in a FDC. This Amriyat who was speaking here, I am the one who drove him to the nomination. He was kidnapped from the doorstep of our office.
He's invited you back? He says the doors are open for you to go back?
That me, Ssemujju, I'm being invited by Amriyat. Please save me, let me be beneficial to your audience. So as a group and all of us collectively, and that's why it's good to invite people like Imam Kasozi, the clergy, the academicians, those who are remaining, not Tango Doi, who was going to work with the military people, pretending that he's running a political party that has a veterans ridge that is in the UPDF Act. The civil society, we need to do what all the others have done, whether in Malawi, whether in Zambia. Until that transition has been achieved from people who are holding guns, and when you are competing with them, they will stop you, they will either shoot your supporters, they will arrest them. The young people who were arrested for supporting Kyagulanyi are still in jail. The reason they were arrested was because they were supporting a candidate against Museveni. So the preparation for a political party in Uganda is not just holding a delegates conference and choose candidates, but it's also mentally prepare to compete with the armed people and the violence that has characterized all the elections in Uganda. So at a personal level, and with the people I work with, we use these elections to continue raising the level of civic competence and the need, because sometimes that's where...
Let me start from the extreme end. I have the new leader of, deputy leader of National Unity Platform for Buganda region, also member of parliament for Butambala County, and a regular guest on the front line, the Honorable Muhammad Mwanga Chivumbi. Very nice to have you, sir.
Very nice to be here, especially to meet my former teacher, Tango Doi, my elder brother, Imam Kasozi. You know, he always orders me like like a real young brother, and the usual panelists.
Thank you. Frontliner, Executive Director, the Uganda Media Center, from Mulanda, Kapelebyong, and Chagwe. Munachagwe. Ofono Opondo.
Msaja Wakabaka.
Msaja Wakabaka. Very nice. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to our viewers.
From the NRM Secretariat, Chairman of the Electoral Commission of the party, Dr. Tanga Odoi. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad I'm rubbing shoulders with the most recent appointment. The Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, my former student.
Haj Imam Kasozi doesn't need a lot of introduction, but he's an academic.
Kasozi, not Haj.
Eh? Imam Kasozi.
Imam Kasozi, not Haj.
Not Haj. Okay. Imam Kasozi.
No.
Very nice to have you.
Yes. Good evening, viewers and listeners, and it is nice that I am on the front line with colleagues for a very long time.
Thank you. And from Kira Municipality, from the PFF, Shadow Minister for Finance, former spokesperson of FDC, and the frontline, Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Chance, and good evening to viewers.
Let me start with Imam Kasozi, in the middle there. Imam Kasozi, you watch closely political party activity, the politics of this country. I don't know, in your assessment, do you think the politics is more divided today than it was before? What's your own assessment? What's your own reading of the political environment?
Thank you, Charles. And it is, as I have said, it is always nice to share views with people. But sometimes, because these media people make a lot of the disclaimers, I also make mine, that there are people who think that when we come into these discussions, we should say what they want. And unfortunately, that is not Imam Kasozi. I say what I think should be said for purposes of our nation building.
And that's what we believe in on the front line.
Yeah, now,
what
yes.
You think.
Now, political parties and the politics in this country has a lot of problems for two reasons. Number one, most political players have chosen to be survivors. And because of that, every other day, they may change their face just to survive. And that is very unfortunate. And they have also been helped by the intelligentsia and the academicians who would be helping us to generate ideas, to create policy to shape our country. They have also resigned. Why? Because the majority of them are in transit. They are waiting for the next flight of either being appointed, and therefore, even when they see something wrong, they say, when I say this, the other flight, especially when a flight has left you and you are still waiting, you have to be very conscious because you don't want the next flight to leave you. And many of them have waited and waited and waited, and consequently, we are losing their wisdom, and we are not benefiting from it, and hence the problems you see in the political organization that we have. Largely, the biggest cause of this is the majority of our political parties have failed to realize the difference between an ideology and a slogan. And they are calling slogans ideologies. And for that matter, they don't have any critical principle on which they base their politicking. And consequently, the message you see. And we still have a long way to go. Then, the leaders, largely, we have decided to be led by the people we are supposed to lead. And why? Because we are playing politics of positions. There are people out there who think that they cannot contribute to nation building without occupying political offices. That's where I have a problem as a person. And for that, I think we are not likely to have the harmony you are talking about. Actually, the biggest challenge that has come is to confuse opposition with political groups.
How do you mean?
And when people make a lot of issues, they say, you see, the opposition is divided. But it is already divided because it is either DP is opposition, NUP is opposition, JEMA is opposition, FDC is opposition, PFF is opposition, and other, I saw today, National Federal Alliance has also been now revived. It's also opposition. Now, in the process, people are saying, okay, you want us to work together, but we want that position also. And consequently, that unity you are talking about in opposition cannot be there. In developed democracies, which people talk about, people will decide and vote because of a principle or an idea or a policy that the political organization, irrespective of whether they are their supporters. And actually, I think the biggest problem here, do we have political party members? People don't also make a difference between supporter, members, and sympathizers. And because of that, we tend to build on the emotions of the sympathizers, and that has affected the working of political organizations.
So your argument, Kasozi, is that the opposition as a group cannot be. I need to get clarity.
And it is talked about as a group. It doesn't exist as a group.
It doesn't exist as a group.
Each exists as an entity.
Okay.
I am DP. Then it is troubled by the political party in government. You know, the political party in government has two tools, and those tools are the ones that are causing the biggest chaos. Number one, they have positions to give. And on that one, they have used it to disorganize everybody, especially those I have talked about who are on a flight, they are on a journey, they are in transit, they are waiting for the next flight. And two, they control the resources of the country, and they use it as they want and when they think it can be applied. And therefore that one again confuses. And they have actually also benefited from the weakness of our minds, whereby everybody, if people, they see me speak to Ofono Opondo or being next to him, and they say, he has been bought. And they are using it as a tool, and it works for the NRM better than everybody's. And even where they have not bought.
You have two...
they will tell you somebody has been paid. That is the biggest, that's the big challenge. And it is a threat to the national coherence, because everybody now is suspicious of the other. And some of the shortcomings you see happen is because of that. And they have used it very, 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 very wisely. You see, for example, when Ofono came in, he said, hey, Imam, these days, maybe I don't listen to the radios. Then he said, probably they gave you something to eat. And I said, no, Ofono. Because me who knew Ofono before, I said, Ofono, my friend, is saying this. Then I went back at what he was writing in the vision longer before she became what he is.
Before he ate.
Yes, before. Probably he thinks. Then I told him, you see, I do not have a price tag. I know. Nobody has money
where do you place,
to buy me, my conscience especially.
Yes. Where do you place these calls for opposition unity, opposition working together? What does that even mean in our circumstances?
They are healthy, but because of politics of interest, not politics of principle, they are not likely to work.
Thank you. Let me introduce Fred Mukasa Mbide from the Democratic Party. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. First of all, I also equally greet the panelists. This is a monumental panel. I expect definitely the viewers to get whatever they need. In fact, including what they don't even want to get, they will still get it.
Especially the English.
Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, congratulations, you've just been appointed to a high office within the National Unity Platform. Could you talk to us briefly about the new shuffle that we've seen in the party today, the filling in oppositions?
Well,
and what your new role comes with?
I'm just a deputy president of the party. I was asking my young brother
for a
template on how to be a deputy president of a political party. Said, what does it take? Because quite often you work on the deployment of your boss. So you may not necessarily have your own distinct agenda. You have to be very careful if you want to have one of your own. So I think I'm getting it right.
That is true.
So that's...
You must even indicate with all certainty that you don't want to be president. So
No, I think it depends on the title. Is he vice president or deputy president?
Deputy president.
It's deputy president.
For Uganda region.
If he's deputy, then it has a problem.
So you must have know exactly what that is. I had a discussion with the president of the party prior to my appointment, and exactly I know my terms of references where I intend to act in a fundamental way. But also the party was trying to shake up what had happened in the last 1 year, and it was to get ready for the next push when it has all its wheels and engine well aligned. So it's aligning, it's doing what it must do, and we hope now we are ready, as I said. You know, the other day I was telling you, I'm a very poor person at English. I always depend on him. I went to Amsterdam, yes. And in Amsterdam, departure, there is a very big billboard says, "Here I come," but it is it's only departure.
They speak Dutch.
Here I come.
They speak Dutch in Amsterdam.
You know, some Indian once told me he wanted to indicate that actually he has a son who is as tall as me. So he was indicating that in India, I have a boy like you, same tall like you.
Same tall. But when I went to check, here I come, it literally means you are either on the journey or starting a journey. So they use it the other way around. They say here, Ofono, is that right? Here I come. So we are here to say, here we come. Now, for the first time, the country will have an experience and a campaign without the COVID restrictions.
Well, there's a new virus emerging.
God
hopefully.
willing.
Yeah,
I hope
God
they
willing,
don't now manipulate monkeypox. And Nganda says the country is unsafe. So you would expect political parties to give us their A game. Therefore, I don't think in the last election, political parties put up their A game. They gave us something that we never expected. We also hope that the ruling party plays by the rule. That already it's not playing by the rule. But we hope it can play by the rule. Third, what Imam Kasozi is trying to explain to the Labour, Dr. Ssemujju explained it for us when we were young people. He drew for us a triangle and he divided it into 3 portions: the apex, the middle, and the bottom. He said the apex of any political grouping is made of the political elites. The middle one is the base of the party. It's made of political actors who not necessarily are interested in contesting or becoming anything. I said that's the stable base that gives a party its foundation. The lower part is the general population, the voters. The voters can be swayed in any way, wherever they want, following even a poster, a nice poster. A nice poster can sway some voters. This lady looks so beautiful. Therefore, I'm going to. This young man looks so handsome. That's what the nature and the campaign is that way. So, by then he labored to explain to us the behavior of the apex, the so-called elite. He said this apex here is extremely unstable because it acts in its self-interest. So, when you are speaking about Honorable Mbide, he's the vice president of DP, but if DP denied him a ticket, the position of vice president is irrelevant. He will say this party is fake. I'm going away.
They are compromising.
They are compromising. If I am a deputy president of the party, and the party says, but now you're a deputy, but in Butambala, we think someone else is better than you. You are likely to say, no, no way. Mm-hmm. So you are at that level. And that behavior is not only local. It's not just in Uganda, it's global. So many politicians change political formations. Then political parties inherently are vehicles for purposes of canvassing for support. Now, when you have a multi-party or pluralistic, as Mukambwe said, the assumption is that all of you are in opposition. No, not every political party. How many are there in Uganda? By the way, there are so many. 30-something. Now, 37 political parties registered. Most of them were registered during the referendum. You remember when we went for change and opposition, proper DPO Chegere. So, ISO, internal organization, registered those political parties. They were actually registered by NRM, and they are NRM-affiliated political parties. But also, political parties...
Many were severed by the Electoral Commission because they're not compliant. I think the current number is about 29 political parties.
Whatever number you now have. Now, so many also other political parties have found it logical within their favor to work with government. So they are no longer in opposition. You don't tell me Mukambwe's party, Democratic Party, it has an MOU with the government. So it is a part of government. Don't tell me Akena's UPC is part of government. Now, a section, what is disturbing now FDC, that a section works with government but has not formalized. They are working with the government. So those who don't want to work with the government are saying, we are forming our own party.
You sold out.
They pulled out. So it's a deceit for some political actors to work with government and then pretend to be opposing it.
Mr. Honorable Ssemujju Nganda, let me come to you. One is you're forming a new political party. One of its major leaders, Dr. Kizza Besigye, is away now, facing different challenges, facing the court-martial. The FDC has been inviting you to go back to Najana Nkumbi. They sent out an invitation and said, its door is welcome, it has overcome its challenges, now it's inviting you to go back. When you look at the NUP, it has just announced new leadership, filled in leadership positions, and as Mwanga Chivumbi says, trying to say we have overcome what our challenges for last year. We are now ready to move forward. What is your own assessment of the readiness of political parties to face this campaign year 2025?
I was on a local station, Uganda-speaking radio station this evening, and I said the military rule, usually the transition from military to civilian is very complicated. In Uganda, it has never been completed. Even for you to begin discussing political parties and preparation for elections. Government has tabled an amendment to the EPDF Act. In that amendment, they are seeking to create 2 extra forces because the military now, under the EPDF Act, is divided into the air and land force. They are now seeking to make SFC a force, which it already was, but illegally. But they are also adding the veterans. One of the leagues of NRM is the Veterans League. They are the only ones who have a Veterans League. that Veterans League now is going to become a force under the UPDF Act. Same thing that happened in Zimbabwe, where the Mugabe group had veterans with guns, and you are competing with them. So the reason Besigye is in jail, it is because he's been fighting these things. He's not the only one, many others are fighting them. The transition from the Luwero armed group that was killing people for power in Luwero, that transition has never been completed. Even the spirit under which political parties were allowed some freedom. I was in Chankwanza as a journalist 2003 when Mr. Museveni spoke about freeing political parties. And the motivation was that donors were making a lot of noise. There are multi-partists who were also bad-mouthing us. The younger people, he said, who are the MP of democracy, and then to the Jeko. So the whole campaign of returning parties was to deal with the dissenters within the NRM. But the NRM has remained the same military outfit that killed the people to get into power in the Luwero. So each election that you go to face as opposition, before you speak about working together, before you think about your internal problems, you have a problem that you must deal with as a country, because you've never transited from armed people to civilian authority. You are still competing with the military. That's why what Besigye faced, Kyagulanyi has faced, whoever offers himself will face it. Right now, Mr. Museveni is moving, campaigning, pretending that is supervising implementation of PDM. But he goes to campaign. You've seen the rallies. The Mwanga Chivumi's party, their last attempt to go and revive their branches, they were told you had caused an accident on the road, so you cannot continue. I don't know what will happen. You see, Uganda is a very interesting country. The Law Council told Martha Karua when she came to represent Besigye that she was bringing, special skills, and said, you're not giving you a certificate. But later they gave her a certificate. I don't know, maybe within those days she had acquired the special skills for which she was being denied. I don't know whether the time of campaign now they will allow Mwanga Chivumi's party to work and they don't cause an accident. So that's the environment under which we do politics. We have had a discussion as a country about the transition until we got problems in 2005 when Mr. Museveni said, now I am going to be president for life. So each election you go and face the same hurdles. Whether you work together, whether all the opposition groups Imam Kasos has spoken about are working together, whether they are fielding joint candidates, you're going to face the same problem because you are not competing with a political party, you are competing with the military.
You made a decision together with your colleagues to create a new political outfit called People's Front for Freedom.
Yes.
We haven't had much from it since they have begun. And you're not talking about what preparations you're making, what plans you are, and where you stand. Is that still a going concern?
I am surprised that you have not heard from PFF. As a political organization, we submitted all that the Electoral Commission requires to register a political party. That we did. We are waiting for a certificate to begin operating under the same environment. Where we are now, and that's why I don't want to be narrow to begin speaking about only one political group. I want to speak about the environment. Because yesterday I was in a FDC. This Amriyat who was speaking here, I am the one who drove him to the nomination. He was kidnapped from the doorstep of our office.
He's invited you back? He says the doors are open for you to go back?
That me, Ssemujju, I'm being invited by Amriyat. Please save me, let me be beneficial to your audience. So as a group and all of us collectively, And that's why it's good to invite people like Imam Kasozi, the clergy, the academicians, those who are remaining, not Tango Doi, who was going to work with the military people, pretending that he's running a political party that has a veterans ridge that is in the UPDF Act. The civil society, we need to do what all the others have done, whether in Malawi, whether in Zambia, until that transition has been achieved from people who are holding guns, and when you are competing with them, they will stop you, they will either shoot your supporters, they will arrest them. The young people who were arrested for supporting Kyagulanyi are still in jail. The reason they were arrested was because they were supporting a candidate against Museveni. So the preparation for a political party in Uganda is not just holding a delegates conference and choose candidates, but also mentally prepare to compete with the armed people and the violence that has characterized all the elections in Uganda. So at a personal level, and with the people I work with, we use these elections to continue raising the level of civic competence and the need, because sometimes that's when...
compete to take power.
With the military people.
Dr. Tango Doi, let me come to you. Yeah, other people are talking about transition, which would ideally mean transition from the party whose electoral commission you lead. Other people are talking about military people. You're organizing elections, and you released, you've been working on your roadmap towards the next general election. From where you stand, you've listened to some of the other members speak. From where you stand and from the party where you lead, whose electoral commission you lead, the 2026 elections, what is at stake?
Thank you very much, Charles. I think first thing first, I want to take on Imam Kasozi. I think Imam Kasozi started from a point which should remind us about the emergent African states. Emergent African states and emergent political parties at that time had what you can call ideologies. Like he said, they mix up ideology for sloganeering. Kwame Nkrumah and his party had the African personality. If you go to Tanzania, the best model, the African socialism. The return to the village model, the Ujamaa. If you go to Zambia, humanism. In Uganda, it was the common man's shutter, the move to the left, which was not well conceptualized even by the leaders who were pronouncing it. I think politicians then, like politicians now, is almost what Nyerere described as weekend politicians. Will they get something to make them unite as opposition forces? I think they should. Because if to them, Museveni must go is a slogan, is an ideology, maybe that should bring them together. But to the extent that a seasoned politician and journalist almost rubbishes the issue that they cannot come together, then you don't know what they are working for. Some political parties have never even shown us their manifestos, including the one from my former student here, Mwanga Chibumbi. Unless I have not read. If you have read, you tell me what their manifesto is all about. So as NRM Electoral Commission, you are almost saying what we should be. We are preparing for elections. Notwithstanding the fact that we have some internal grumbling, but we are organizing for elections following the release of the roadmap. Ours is to do our part and leave other players do their part. Once the Electoral Commission released the roadmap, as a party, we released the roadmap. It was launched by the chairman of the party in Ishadon. Of course, there were voices which said, let's not do this because we don't have a clean register. But that did not really throw us off balance. We are actually currently doing very well on the register. As I speak, our register printing is, I think, 95% done in the different printing points. And we want to actually take them back to the villages before the students come. I mean, the students go back to school.
Ssemujju argues they're not competing with a political party. They're competing with the military.
No, I am not the
Then
one.
why do they want to
I
compete?
am not the one arguing. That's the reality.
No, you said it here.
You said
Yeah.
it.
Sure. Yes.
Yes, I would come to
I
it.
didn't have to say it. It's obvious.
So why do you compete? There is no need then, if you have already lamented and given up,
You said they compete because of
that they
doing
want to use
civic.
it.
They are still doing civic education.
What we have is almost the strata that Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi talked about, the pyramid strata. That there's elite at the top, the middle is actually by the peri-urban and petty elite, the petty bourgeoisie, if you go to the comprador history. Then the bottom are those peasants. The exploitative nature of the elite is that they keep the lower people thinking that they are actually going to offer leadership. They don't give them manifesto, they don't give them a program, but they keep them with that hope, and they are voted. Like the sweep which we had here about Noop. It was not about people expecting any hope, but they were just told, this is the wave now. So Honorable Ssemujju has just said it. They don't have any hope because there's a military. So what are they doing? They are just hanging as elite.
So you were insulting the people who voted no.
I rarely insult.
They're so
My,
stupid.
my training, I rarely use the word stupid, which you are using. Because some of those words have different meanings depending on how you apply them. What I'm saying, the elite exploit the masses. And good enough, you are the one who actually gave us even the pyramid. At the top, they are elite. In the middle, there are those who are semi. Then the bottom mass are the ones taken for granted. Now, this is what NRM president, chairman is doing. Is doing one thing. How can we get this bottom to realize that we must do the following? How must we get this bottom to be aware of their rights? So he goes around the PDM, which Honorable Ssemujju calls campaigning, to try to actually face off with these people. If you have got the money, what have you used it for? So I don't think we should actually shy about saying the truth. The political class, the elite political class, are rather exploitative.
Ofana Pondo, let me come to you. You're a member of the ruling NRM party, and its party primaries are some of the most chaotic. So it's not devoid of its own internal fissures. To some extent, it faces the same challenges that political parties in the opposition face.
Thank you, Charles. I'm not just a member, I'm a founder, and I'm one of the leading ideologues of the party. And to concur with the Imam Kasozi, if the parties had many of the well-informed, committed, disciplined ideologues, maybe we wouldn't be having all this friction. Because if my party has deployed me as a director, the chairman of my party has deployed me as a director, I don't have to go fight, to kill, to become a member of parliament. I'm doing 25 years as a spokesperson. I have never attempted even once to pick nomination forms for a member of parliament because I believe my party has deployed me to be its spokesperson on various platforms. And if it wants to reward, even financial reward, it should reward me for the work I do, for the tasks I accomplish. So I agree with Imam Kasozi that ideology is important, ideology, discipline, leadership in organizations is important. But I don't agree with him when he says people shouldn't. Yes, people have their expectations. If we go to Makerere, and that's where we think there's expertise. You remember when NRM came, there used to be a gentleman called Professor Eriso Chieng. There used to be another one called Karugiri, and many others, and Siwambi, and many. And others said, if you give me that position, I will export everything. Uganda will get enough money. The president brought them in. they didn't export everything. They failed actually, and one by one they fell out. And Sibambi said he was the one going to manage the politics of government and the living wage, and he was given. I don't know, by the time he left, maybe he had, I don't know if he had left. He had
another former chairman of Mwasa here.
The chairman of Mwasa, and now our electoral commission chairman, is doing almost 10 years or more as the electoral commission, and I think he has brought some semblance of sanity in the NRM, internal elections. Now, Honorable Ssemujju likes escapism, scapegoating, blaming the NRM, blaming Museveni, blaming militarism. Even when he has considered here that last election is the one who took Amuriat from the steps of Najanankumbi for nomination.
He was kidnapped.
You did not know, apparently you didn't have the capacity to know his incompetence and his shallowness. You didn't have that capacity to know, and yet you had worked with him since 2005. You had worked with him. You were able to take an incompetent person, a pretender, who had been bribed, who had been bought, who had been compromised, to stand on your ticket. Now, we would question your own competence. Now, so they will take that excuse. As you know, FDC has gone through now three splits. I don't want even to call them major. First, there was the walk away of the late John Butime and Betty Kamia. Why? Because of failure to manage internal contradictions. Was militarism in the FDC in Najanankumbi at that time? In 2018, a military man, a general, Mugisha Muntu, walked out in such a dejected manner with a team of national leaders of FDC. The former Secretary General, Ali Salaso, the former leader of opposition, my sister Winnie Kiza, the former organizing committee person or the administrative, Cassiano Wadri, and as we say, a litany of others who didn't have positions left to them. Abudu Katuntu, Okupa, Angelino Sege, and many others. Augustine Rosindanas, Mamanya Mushegas, was the NRM military in FDC at that time to lead to that collapse of FDC. And that collapse of FDC brought them from 37 members of parliament to 29. Now in this one. So your failure to manage your internal contradiction as FDC, I think you should be, if you are sincere, if you are genuine, you should own it up and don't shift blame. NRM has had its own fair share of internal disagreement. But because of
engeri eri endala yensobozesezza bembadde nabo osanga nakati oba bali mu nsanja oba mu nateete naye era andeese neewunyiza mweka tutuuseewa nange akatuli lugala nti tulagize tuti naye nekisobola okutuyamba okuba mu budde. Nebaza saba okuteekateeka
mujje mutukoleyo ka flyover
ekijja Kampala ne Uganda egenda kubanga ensenda zaanyi insha Allah
kwese dakiika zo
nga neegatta ku bannange bano okusaasira ab'ennyumba ya muganda waffe Muhammad Segirinya nnyina ndowooza lwe Luganda olutuufu so si maama we bannamwandu bamuletwa musibe munne gwe mbadde ngenda okusembyayo olw'okuba ndi naye wano olw'okuviibwako omuntu waabwe oyo mbadde mpulira ng'omukulu aga nti oba oliawo bw'atunula mu byafaayo ndowooza ng'oggyeko maama we kubanga waliwo ebbanga yabeera n'ennyina ne mukyala we oyinza okwesanga talina muntu gwe yaludde naye nga muli ku lusegere buli lunaku emisana n'ekiro okumala emyaka 2 nga Honorable Segirinya. Kati oyinza okumanya muganda waffe embeera gy'alimu. So tukusaasira ssebo era tumanyidde ddala nti embeera yo era twakoma okubeera wano naawe twatwogera ku bintu ebyo nzijukira okuba nga wali era ojja mpola era neesanze nga era almost kumpi era kyekimu naye nkimanyi nti mu mutima olumwa ate ne tusaasira n'abalala abanene waida bannayuganda bonna abanuupu bonna abannabuddu oba bannamasaka bonna n'abakubi b'amasimu bonna abagwa mu ttuluba mukulu Segirinya lye yali agwamu bonna tubasaasira ate tusaba Mukama Katonda ekyo nga nkimaze nti
ebyabaddewo biraga ki
munnange nno ku Lwokutaano naliko ne mukadde wange oba mukulu wange RCC wa Masaka City mukulu Ahmad Washaki kubanga nali Masaka yakamuyiga nina omutwala private wasobola okusaalirangako ne tunyumya bingi naye bino ebyo twabitwalanga by the way twabyogerako kuba twali mu lukiiko lw'akakiiko ebyokulonda kaali kayise district singa 19 eza Greater Masaka ndowooza ne Greater Mubende nga tuli bagiyita South Central Electoral Commission balina terminology zaabwe naye ebyo Kabaka yabibagaana ate baaba health and education baabiyiga eri bagiyita South Buganda endala ne bagiyita North Buganda naye aba Electoral Commission bo tebannakayikaako twali eyo nga tulinga South Central so ondowooza ffenna abantu mubakubiriza okujja obuzza enkala z'abalonzi kugenda mu maaso okuva nga 13 okutuuka nga 2 naye alina seerezo obikolera awo ne bigira ki ne biggwa so bwe twayogera n'oli ekyo tetwakyesibaako nnyo naye nali manyi nti security ttiimu ya Greater Masaka nga gye mmanyi ne ttiimu ey'ebyobufuzi embeera ng'eyo tejja kubalemerera era mbeebaza nti bwe wabanga waliwo yali ayagala nti Masaka wabeeyo okuyiwa omusaayi oba wabeewo ekisinga awo oyo ye yasanga balaba ekyo tekyabaddewo so mbeebaza okulaba ng'embeera yakolebwa etyo okujjako kye neewuunya kyokka nti nga mukadde waffe Honorable Mpuuga ne Honorable Namayanja bamaze kubanga ekawungeezi baali bakkaanyiza nti okukungubwaga ndowooza nga balina effamire kujja kubeera mu kisaawe kati mu mbeera eyo e Masaka Mpuuga ne Namayanja nga bamaze okukkaanya mu sayidi ey'ebyobufuzi ate gwani
ajja n'akyusa
kwegamba awo ewakyantawanyera sinaddamu kwogerako na muganda wange Ahmad Washaki naye awo weneewuunya yadde enkeera nalabe nga mwanyenaze Honorable Namayanja aga nti kiri kyabadde mu bukyamu of course kubanga ewaabwe balinayo atagiraki atasobya katoyinza yadde tayinza kulemerako ng'ow'ebyobufuzi
ewaabwe wali atasobya ebuddu ewaabwe ebuddu ewaabwe mu kibiina
munupu mulimu atasobya kasitaba nga amaze ogandi kiri kiti Namayanja yabadde alina okukyuka naye nze nga ow'ebyokwerinda ku local level famire kyeyagala obusiraamu kyebwagala bano ab'ebyobufuzi bombi Namayanja badawe Mpuuga yabadde alina enkizendero badde ndaba abantu abalala ababyogera abantu abamu babadde beerabira nti eyo constituency Nyendo Mukambwe ye mbaka waayo wa parliament nti mu buzaale kubanga wano bwe tuba twewandiisa ku nnangamuntu batubuuza gye tuzaalwa ne batubuuza ne gye tusibuka ne batubuuza kati gye tubeera era nze ba MP ab'ebitundu ebyo byonna abange mbatwala nga kikulu bw'ombuuza gye nzaalawo nga ngamba nze ni musajja w'ennambirizi Mawogole Shati Simusherure embaka wange agira ki asooka kakati nenzizaako mbaka oweno mumakindi Ssaabagabo bwe mbeera e Kampala gye ntwala nti yeki yewaffe gyensula. Of course kati nteekako n'ababaka gye nkolera ab'e Butambala. Naye olwakakwate ak'e Masaka ke nnina ne Bampuuga abo nabo nkyababala ng'abaka bange. Kaakati Mpuuga mubaka wa Sseggirinya ng'ogyeko bino ebya kamishona n'ebiki, mubaka we kubanga Sseggirinya gy'azaalwa era gy'agenda okuziikwa. Ekyo nakyo kyali kirina okusibwamu ekitiibwa, kyali kirina okutwalibwa ng'ekikulu. Ekirala ebyalo bino bali abasajja abasooka mu politics olumu basomanga n'embeera. Katolaba nti Masaka etwalibwa nti bakatoliki nnyo, abakatoliki kituufu be basingayo obungi, naye n'eddiini endala gye ziri era zirina amatwale gy'otuuka nga zaate awo ze zigira ki. Kaddugala kye kimu ku byalo ebisiraamu mu Masaka, nga buli kyokolerako kyonna olina okulaba nti tovvodde buki, tovvodde busiraamu, ne bw'oba totaddeemu bya bufuzi birala byonna. Naye ebintu nga bwe byagenze ne bannange nga bwe mbadde mpulira nga boogera, ndowooza nti tebisaanidde kuddamu kuba bwe bityo, kubanga baganda baffe abanuupu lwakuba baddugavu tetera kwetonda. Bwalumu bagambibwa eba bayakisi nti kigwa bugwi, naye Nuupu yandyetonze. Nuupu yandyetondedde Abaganda olw'engeri gye bavoolamu ennono y'Ekiganda ey'okuziika maama w'omwana bannamwandu. Kale bamulekwa tuyinza okuga nti tebannaweza myaka 18 nti tebeerowooleza. Naye nalaba bannamwandu nga mbalaba sayidi eri ya mu kisaawe. Maama namwerabira ku TV ngaga naye eri nze nabadde njize eki ekyo
kubanga wagazi
kuba kwetonda. Naye n'okwetondera obusiraamu.
Obusiraamu bwabukoze eki?
N'okwetondera obusiraamu kubanga nze bwe nali ku TV
Sirika Haji Mubaraka kubanga
nze bwe nali ku TV sebo nalinda naye mwembusula tubeera ffenna ku mikolo. Omukolo olundi bwe gutaba gwa busiraamu nnyo, essaawa omwaziinyi bw'ayaziina bayimirizaamu ne bagira ki. Nze okusaala nakulabanga kulimbano mu kisaawe.
Okusaala
duhuri bwe essaala ey'omutuntu bwe yatuuka ne basaala mu kisaawe, n'essaala ey'olweggulo bwe yatuuka ne basaala, ng'ogyeko essaala ey'okusaalira ani omugenzi n'edduwa ezaaliko. Wano waali mufululizo sipiiki zokka bivumo biki ng'omukolo tegulimu lusiramu. Nakugambye nti Kaddugala kyekimu ku byalo ebisiraamu mu Masaka. So ekyo nakyo ndowooza tekyawooma era tekyali kirungi.
Waliwo okusaala.
Wayinza okuba nga waliwo okusaala naye ndowooza tekwali kutongole.
Bulungi naye swala nzijukira zaalinga 2
mu kisaawe.
agamba
waka okay. Amawulire nago gaba n'engeri yaago tegaatugirayoko nga balangirira mu butongole timusiriikirireeko tusaale.
Anti amawulire gakuwa kye gaagala olabe.
Naye eri sayidi ne bwe kutaabanga ddoboozi kuba eddoboozi okusinga lyali eno mbayaayi, naye ng'eri olumu ate terefayina tugyebaza ye yasigala ebalansi nze nga byombi ebituwa. Naye of course ng'eddoboozi esinga kuwa mbayaayi ndowooza ye waali wagira
ani abayaayi
abanuupu
abayaayi onabalani funa kapeeni ngenda wa honorable Charles omushaka.
Naye nga wali obalaba wali ng'obalaba nti basaala
baali badde bayaayi baliridde
awakanya ky'abayaayi.
Kati ogamba Bobi nti yenyumiririza mu kuba muyaayi.
Ababaka atutudde mu tente otuyita bayaayi.
Bobi yenyumiririza mu kuba omuyaayi.
Oyinza
okuba nga toli muyaayi naye Bobi yenyumiririza mu kuba omuyaayi.
Kale akasembayo
bwe nga nti abayaayi kakati akasembayo ndowooza yandibadde go forward. Waliwo ebintu bye nzize ndaba olumu nga okuziikoko kwa mirundi 2 naye naye waliwo kye njagala okukaatiriza Mubaraka mu Munyagwa kye yagambye. Baganda bange abasiraamu abantu bate batandise otukoppa olw'ennono yaffe kubanga hadithi namba ebintu Nabbi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam byatugamba okwanguyanga ekimu ku byo kuziika.
yakyogeddeko Haji Mbala
omuntu bwafa alina okuziikwa amangu era ekyo ne tukikwata bukusu omanyi baga nti abasiraamu b'omu Uganda waliwo bye bamanyi nti byebyo baabigira ki era eyo ennono twagikwatira ddala era n'abalala nga mukulu James Mulwana Katonda musasire bagamba nti basobya ekiraamo kye yali agambye kuziikwa ddi kwolwo naye ne bakyusaamu katono n'aziikwa enkeera nga yali awo kuba musajja musuubuzi yali awangadde n'abasiraamu ne yeegomba obutonoonera ssente aziifu nti there is no tomorrow. Sabo ako kembadde njagala nti tukuume ennono yaffe oba nzijukira wano
nendoza si musiraamu asoose
kituufu naye sirika
7:5
kimaliza njagala genda
bwali kumakya ne batugamba nti kabaka Faisal yali atemuddwa ntuddeyo ku ssomero okuddeyo okuwulira amawulire nga Idi Amin asembudde agenza okugira ki agisaawo 7 era okugebbiri nga batubulira omukolo bwe gugize eki so kakati kabaka Faizo wa Saudi Arabia bw'aba yatemulwa era kwolwo n'aziikirwawo kakati ataani
amina
tunyweze nono yaffe niwe bw'onaazikiriza okuleeta go forward
eddako katono amaaso ku ggwanga njagala kugenda hano bakyasomusha
Nkulu Busuwa Katonda amanyi Katonda wa kisa muku kwanjula wayogedde ku engeri Mwanga Kibumbi
gyafuuse deputy president we NUP
one tebalina constitution teri gazeted but nebwovaako ekyo ekiwandiiko ekiriwo mu butongole biza ti Mpugwa is suspended tebawangansi kiwandiiko nti gwamusinze
naye mwemirimu lw'omusana bw'oba oyagadde katono nnyo ekyo bwe nkiwulidde mwanyinaze tajja kunyiiga kuba bombi baakabanga aba palamenti
katinze njogedde ki
nkuwakka information kano
akampuuga
bw'oba okyagadde Aisha Kabanda yantegeeza olwagenda mu NUP Bobi yamwanyiriza nnyo era namugamba nkuweereddewo obumyuka bwa president owa Buganda. Aisha Kabanda amugamba mune mwe tuli ab'embogo wakiri onampa ekirala kwe kubuwa mpuuga kakati bwawaddaani bwawadde Muwanga era buyinza okuziba oba okukya nga babuwadde omulala twozeeyoze Muwanga sebo ye information eyo nsonyiwa.
Yes, kakati bw'oba olwanirira demokolasiya ng'olwanirira enfuga y'amateeka ng'olwanirira okufuga mu bulambukufu aye togenda mu bintu by'ekijinga bwe biti very dirty things muno talina justice mumususpendinze temumutryinze temumugobye katolyananga tumureplacinze jangu omureplacing nojangu odduka ng'osimayiringa
onenya akkiriza okutwala bwa deputy president
kati zigwenda baazi tokibeera y'okulwanyisa effuga ebbi Museveni is much better kati yafuuse lecturer waabwe ekyo kimu ekirala but bwerifuuka topic tukidiscussinga bw'ogendera ku first and foremost tosobola kwogera kusegiririra n'okufa kwe nga toyogedde ku bijambiya ebyali Masaka today nabo baali bantu bafa. We must know the story. Can I be protected from Munyagwa?
Tunule ne wange
waliwo ebijambiya Masaka batemula abantu gavumenti mukulu Museveni agamba Segirinya of course ne Sewanya na uno wano be bali mu kutemula abantu abo. That issue is not resolved. Oba bafudde oba tebafudde, we need to know what went kiki ekyabaawo Masaka ani ali behind panga squads. So buli wajja you should come with it. You get? Because kwogerera souls zaabo abattibwa e Masaka. The mathematics is in politics za panga squads. But bwogenda kusegirinya teyali mulwadde.
Teyali
mulwadde. According to Yaurani, Ganga Sigirinya teyali mulwadde. Ekyo ne spokesperson yakigamba yeejiza.
Yeekoza. So teyali mulwadde. Ekyokubiri, Segirinya okuba mu komera yali deal ya Museveni. And we discussed it here. Actually, nze nali nvunula n'ebbaluwa eya Kyagulanyi eri ne mbuwandiike ku tweet. You remember? So they akiri statement per statement.
Statement. Nga n'omu yagamba yali ayomba kuba ever since they left the hospital sibawulizanga ebintu ya Museveni
left prison.
Yes, ebyo nabya Museveni mugende mubuuze Museveni. So therefore Segirinya afuuka mutuufu mu kufa. That is the standard. Because at this time njagala kuwagira kangitambulira ne Kyagulanyi kati kantambulira kwatambulira. Segirinya yali yeekoze yali tali mulwadde. Ekyokubiri Segirinya n'okufuna bairu diri ya Museveni. N'engeri gye babawolekedde. You remember that drama? Then ekyokusatu so Segirinya afuuka mulwadde and two Museveni amutta because you remember twabetamu ne mother that time I think twali ne chairman wa Rwengo
Kitata
I remember that debate very well. So that was so therefore Segirinya is right mulungi nga mulamu. Kati the politics ze tuliwo ze tuyina leero diriwo ofuuka ekyomugaso ofuuka kya mugaso eriwo ng'oli mufu. Kati bw'okiconnectinga obulungi therefore ekyokufa kwabwe kyonna kiri calculated baveemu value y'okufa. That is why waliwo bijambi ya Masaka yena yabibaza yali abibaza kubijja mu politics
n'akituukiriza n'akifuna.
Buganda ng'oyagala kukola wave eyanguwa mangu togikolera ku diini z'obadde oyogera because kati wano olina okumanya ekigambo inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi kati naye nkamanyi bulungi ali bamaani batuvuunulira ffe tugamba ekivudde wakatono bakidde wakatonda semayo kidde ekite bati wali ebigambo ebina wano okulaga
ebyeddiini
anti bisimu bikozesa nnyo you use Islam kyolaba ne RDC abadde akuwa I taught in Masaka. I taught in Kadugala Secondary School. Nasomesayo nga mbeera Matanga. But I had never noticed nti Basiramu. Much as I had director of yali akolera studies mu ssomero yali Musiraamu I think. Emukyalirawo Katwe. Nemubuuza why? What is your deal n'empuuga? Naganze empuuga tamanyi. Naye nva Masaka. Ndi wabuddu.
Yesu wakuba munabuddu munne.
Munabuddu wange naye munakomawo n'okutta leaders. Okay, fine. Kulwene enkola ki? N'enkireka. But nga nyina sharp differences n'empuuga. Now, mpuuga bano isuganga yamuteekayo as a commissioner mu parliament. Parliament egambye ono is our employee, the parliamentary commission. Because all members of parliament bakozi ba parliamentary commission.
Yes.
Kati yunga parliamentary commission egambye this is our employee. Ebya parliament impuga tubiwadde gwe. Because there is no way engeri gye bagenda okuwa ebya parliament babiwaate mu ivuki assuming mwisho was still a commissioner because kasijukira baani aba commissioners abaliwo. If the commissioner is somewhere from Busoga nebaga katugwe genda otugirire
Sirwanyi genda okole ku bya Segirinya
Wampuga when there is a commissioner. You see it makes kati
bano ekigrupu kyabwe ekyo kironze Muwanga Kivumbi akulira akakiiko. What is difficult with Mpuuga kutura ne Muwanga Kivumbi to discuss okuziika Ssegirinya? Ne wamanga mwina differences.
Buzibu ki?
Anche nkugamba but tebasobola kutuula. Eyo myoyo badayogera ku byeddiini obusiramu kyebwayigiriza. Bwana I don't know it in the Catholic Church. That nteyo byobufuzi kike kyabeerawo mu organization kyabwe ekyo that really you are developing a deep hate. That sobola kutuula naawe even mukubaliyo ekintu okay ekyakyagulanyi n'Empuuga bayinza obutatuula because obungifu bwakyagulani sibumanyi bulungi nnyo. That's understandable. I wouldn't be surprised. But Muwanga Kivumbi n'Empuuga ntemusobola kutuula to discuss baliyo really at official level. Bali group kulonze ogikiikire ono parliament emulonze ekiikire ekyo kyene kibalema that temusobola kunoonyayo elder. At least Hamas na Israeli babeera mu kizimbe kimu through indirect talks. Ne wano indirect talks zibalema and you think really you will lead Uganda? Toshana tekigwadde kyamaanyi nnyo. It's a very terrible disease and I don't see why, but in Gwanga yandibaddemu n'abakulembeze ab'amadiini ne babatuuza ne bagamba naye mmwe nedda. No, you can't go beyond this point. But let's look at Uncle Mukulu Museveni. You know the guy at the back press conference from ICU kufa kwonu literally because of kwera press conference politicians kudwaliro really silly. Mwina opportunity mwina political parties mwina zina headquarters
kanko information ku edwaliro lyatuwa ekifo wetugenda okukolera press conference
because wabalanga muli bajeka mukikiriza
nabo benyini bayina issues za kuliza ya mubika kati edwaliro lyajja edwaliro
lya nja kuwonda mutani nenda honorable mchana genda tanya nsanga kubanga we don't have a lot of time. You're protected.
Nayo jetaaga
because toyogera mazima nkimanyi
ani agula conference room
toyogera mazima ate go okola press conference mu conference room edwaliro ayo medical officer kakati bano bayina uniforms which are prohibited by the military. Point number 1. Point number 2, group yabo bali mukomera because of those uniforms. Now nojja ng'oli mu uniforms ezo kulumbe ngoze kulumba security ya Museveni. We are not sick. Masaka mujjango nga bweri oyina amajega yine mu mundu ne mukola ringe esooka ne mukola ringe y'okubiri ku mulambo nga mwina ne commanders nga mugamba police mugende okutuka police ne security was withdrawing naye nga ebyamalo mwambadde are prohibited uniforms. Do you know what it means? Naye nga ate eno mu Kampala police security gyeriye kuba abantu amasasi civilians abatambala na uniform which are prohibited because mbalera abantu media eyewitness omuvubuka bamugamba garamira n'agaramira nanga ntunulira mu maaso look me into the face open your eyes namukuba amasasi yelevo Uganda wetuuse kakati gwe sewanyana system nga bwogimanyi n'oleeta abavubuka engeri information gye bali balumbe security therefore bazaki. That's why I told you to know kudda ku issue y'ebijambiya nti bw'oba ina demonstrations ezakiza Besigye ezali Masaka mu Nnyendo waliwo akaana bakakuba ekyasi bebe bamukubira wuwe. That has never been resolved. Eri ba demonstrating eno waliwo kabebe musasirikalide mu mutwe not sugan tear gas canister obachi. I have even never known engeri kyase gye kyabuuka kiringa drone nekinonya kaana katonyo nekikakuba ekyase nekaba kaali omutwe akaana kafa kakati wano oyina omukyala maama w'omugenzi bwe mulese nnyonnyo wanono mu byobufuzi because tosobola kwogera ku Segirinnya nga toyogedde ku maama wani ku maama wa Segirinnya kakati oleeta security oleete commotion gw'omutte suga nti deno omalaga Museveni ase Segirinnya kati olaba ase ne maama wa Segirinnya because baali banoonya mulambo gwa maama Segirinnya baweze emirambo eki ebiri badevelopinga ekiweevu Masaka kakati ono abalaba naga kyemubaza kyemwankolera Masaka akala ne kafa kati mubaza wano muleeta akavuyo by evening headline ngeri maama wa Segirinnya bamukubya amasasi byakulabisa byammwe kati na withdrawing now ate akyogerako Juli demonstration zino ze baali baleese jo baali bagala batemula abaana abo let me tell you gwe muzanyirako tasaaga and mukulu Ssemujju I tell you bwe mmanga diiru temuli naye mumuleetere bano abaana bagwewo nga muleeta cover muto mukadde oyo mukimusibe beera nga weetunula enamba yamwe egenda kukendeera
bagambe musule bulungi
katonda wamanyi wakisa
awana Mubaraka Munyago atwala salaamu bagambe musule bulungi bagambo kama kasembayo basiibuli
bannayuganda mutusonyi okukangula ku maloboozi naye waliwo lwolaba ngo obugwenyufu bugenda bweyongera nga bufuukidde ddala muze sooka walowooza nti oba tebannayiga oba tebamanyi otugenza okulanga kifuukidde ddala new normal.
Alright. Haji kagamba kasembayo ngende mawulire.
Fact akage yabadde we forward nti mukuziika omugenzi Julius Nyerere basooka ne bategeka bonna bamwami Museveni ne bagenda ate enkeera ebyali ndoze Dar es Salaam kati bwe batuuka ne Musomeka ne baddayo nga private ceremony aba family lwakuba Museveni Nyerere gwe yazaala obukulu y'omu ku batono aba family abaagiribwaki abakkirizibwa nabikirama ne ku Nelson Mandela bano abawaard leaders baani basooka ne babakola omukolo ogwasembayo nga private ceremony ya family. Naffe wano mu Uganda ndowooza ekiseera kituuse bwe muba kati nga bwe kyadde ku muganda waffe Segirinnya ne mugenda ne mumusaalira ewandege yoba ekibuli oba Kampala mukadde mwogwa mmwe gukomaawo ab'e Masaka ne mubalekera
okubakola ebyabo
ekyo nakyo tukirowooza.
Amina. Honorable Alan Sewanyana, Baka Makini West, parting shoot.
Kituufu nti munaku ana tugenda kubayo ne dua ya Honorable Segirinnya.
Bantu banajja nga batidde.
Mugirekere family
ebitatambudde bulungi
muleko mbaka ayogere.
Mu layini y'eddiini Honorable Munyagwa yayogeddeko gyalungamiza ate ne Haji Katerega, so ndowooza nti nebisigadde tujja kugezaako of course nekira kyenjagala okugamba abantu baffe nti mwebale okumuwerekera mu bungi bwe mutyo. Honorable okyalaze omugaso gwe naddala mu byobufuzi naye lwakuba nti nga munnange wagambye nti ate omugaso ogwo ye tasobodde gulabako obaoliawo okutenderezebwa kwe kwali badde ng'akyali mulamu.
Makinde West woli
wendi ngenda kwesimbawo